Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second episode of Girl Talk. I'm your co-host, Lexi Zolo, and we have a fabulous show for you in store today. First, we'll be covering the Miami Heat with my favorites, Doug Smothers and Philip Powell. And then we're going to be talking about how social media can impact athletes in a positive and negative manner. And lastly, your other co-host will be covering the top 5 moments in sports that happened this past week. So stick around because it's time for Girl Talk.
Welcome back, guys. Today we have a fun episode in store for you, starting out with our first segment where we're going to be talking about the Miami Heat with two of my favorite people in the studio. We have Phil and Doug. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be on Girl Talk first time.
Yeah, I'm excited to make my debut on Girl Talk with two of my favorites also in the studio.
Aww, I'm so glad you're here. So guys, I wanted to get right into it. I know that you guys picked 3 players, your top players, and let's start off with Dwayne Wade. I mean, he is incredible. When you think of the Miami Heat, I feel like you just think of Dwayne Wade. He was drafted back in 2003, and he has done so many things for Miami Heat. I mean, back in his season in 2005 and 2006, he actually had the best performance that he ever saw because he brought them their first championship ever against the Mavericks, and he ended up winning MVP that year. So what do you guys think about Dwayne Wade?
I mean, that dude is the reason why I got into basketball. Like, that is my idol in basketball.
So sweet.
He should have been a Heat lifer. I'm so sad we let him go for those couple years, but we brought him back and made him retire.
I was gonna say, yeah, he
should have been there his entire career.
I would agree. It's funny that you say that he got you into basketball because he's one of the first names that I could recognize when I started watching basketball. So when I saw that, who picked him? Phil, you picked him, right?
Yes.
When I saw you picked him, I was like, oh my gosh.
I mean, Flash, come on. There was a point in time where they changed Dade County to Wade County. So that should just explains all how much the Heat really care about him. But honestly, he is a great and phenomenal player. He came arguably one of the best drafts ever in the NBA, the 03-04 draft, with LeBron, Bosh, him, and Carmelo. But no, it was sad that he actually left. They had people like, Udonis. They kept Udonis Haslem there. I don't know why. He was a cheerleader right now on the Heat. But no, the Flash, he was a great player, and I was shocked and sad that he never got an MVP because the 2008-2009 Wade was freaking phenomenal. He averaged 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists, and he came in third behind LeBron and Kobe, who averaged less than him, but I guess at the time they probably had a better record, so they just went ahead and went with LeBron that year. But I really
he
wish
won
he
it in
got
05, 06 at least.
Well,
No, that's Finals MVP.
Oh,
my
bad.
League MVP, yeah.
Okay, well, moving on. Doug, I want to talk a little bit about your pick because you picked Caleb Martin.
All right. So when you asked me to pick my players, I originally thought current players.
That's okay.
Yeah, but I was excited for Caleb Martin because what he did throughout this playoffs in this last year and what he did to the Celtics, Nolan. I'm just really excited we got to keep him over Gabe Vincent and Strus. I'm happy he's returning for us.
Do you know why? Okay, so he's nicknamed The Difference. Do you know why?
Honestly, I don't.
I can give a guess. I mean,
because he was a difference maker in the Celtics series?
Well,
he definitely was a difference
I can tell
maker
you guys,
in the Celtics series.
It's because he splits his time with the Heat and the Sioux Falls.
So,
he's
with both teams.
It's our G League affiliate.
Yeah.
Oh, I never knew.
Yeah. Well, now you do. Fun fact.
And I didn't know either that he had a twin brother.
Has.
Oh, has.
He has a twin brother.
He has, oh my God.
He still has a twin brother, but I didn't know that. And I think that's pretty cool. And they both played in the NBA or whatever, but now I know Cody doesn't, unfortunately.
So
boo-hoo.
This season for Martin, what do you think for him?
I think he's gonna be fighting for a starting role.
Do you think he'll get it realistically?
No.
Probably
Ooh.
not.
Why?
I think our younger players like Jaquez and Jovic will see more minutes, and he'll just be behind Jimmy Butler for majority of it.
Yeah.
What a great segue. We're about to talk about Jimmy Butler,
See,
the
I
player
got
that
you, I
you
got you.
both
Jimmy
picked.
Butler.
Also
yes.
known as Jimmy Buckets.
That too. It was just an awkward silence. Awesome.
The way that the silence
The silence was loud.
Okay, so he came to the Bulls in 2011. He was a first-round pick, 30th overall, and then he just started, making buckets.
No, it's so funny because when he actually did come in the league in 2011, he was just like a defensive player. Coming from Marquette, he was really known as a defensive player. And then how he gradually made his game better and better and better. And now you think of him, he's still a good defensive player. Let's not get wrong with that. But he's just a great offensive talent now. And like watching this past NBA season and just him go off in the playoffs, it's like, all right, I'm gonna take it easy in the regular season. I'm gonna show you flashes here or there. But when it's playoff time, it's just like he turn it on to another level. And like part of me wish the Heat would have won, but I'm sorry they were going against the Joker, and unfortunately they didn't have enough manpower. But this is why the Heat, you need to go after Zane and help Jimmy Butler out. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. Trailblazers, stop playing hard to get. Please, they're playing hard to get right now. But Jimmy Butler, he's definitely a phenomenal player. I want to put him in at superstar status, but only in the playoffs. Not regular season, but playoffs, he's superstar
He pops off
status.
in the playoffs.
When the playoffs start, he is the best player in the league.
He does well under pressure.
I will say that.
Let's not go that far. Bro.
I feel like he's very.
Let's not go that far.
Because he does have like really good defensive and offensive skills, but I feel like he doesn't have much of a bag, but he somehow always makes those tough shots. And like last year, the Heat were an 8th seed, and they made it too.
Well, you know what's funny? D Wade went to Marquette, so did Jimmy Butler. And they're both on the Bulls in 16-17, and then Butler ended up eventually making his way to Miami.
So
I'm
does
just
this
saying.
mean that he's going to have a similar like legendary status path?
Oh, absolutely.
He
I think
got
he surpassed LeBron's status in Heat history.
I
Okay.
think so.
So
Yeah.
just a little fun fact about him. He's a 6-time NBA All-Star, a 5-time NBA team honoree. He won an Olympic gold medal. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
In 2016. I didn't even realize. So, okay.
He got that dog in him.
I'm not repeating that, but I will agree with you. And then in 2015, he won Most Improved. And then this last year, he brought the team to their second NBA final in 4 years.
No,
I love him.
From the
I
8th
love
seed
him.
too.
and reason why I say you actually made a good point that he surpassed LeBron because LeBron had help, a lot of help. Like I never seen like Jimmy Butler. I'm not gonna say he didn't have help, but he didn't have a team like LeBron had, and he beat some very good teams. He beat the Celtics, beat the 76ers, beat the Bucks. I mean, people gonna discredit the bubble, but championship's a championship. They made it there. So
But then it was like the playoffs this last season included all the teams that were in the bubble, like the Final Four
like
teams.
pretty
so
much.
it's,
And everybody thought it was a fluke. Yeah,
how are we going to
like-
discredit the bubble season?
No, you can't.
I feel like the Heat get a lot of hate. I feel
Oh,
like
that they do.
not
'Cause
so much.
I wouldn't say
Well,
hate. They don't get
it's-
enough love.
well, it's
that's why I
also
say
Yeah.
it's
It's like
also because we're so
Yeah, it
successful.
definitely is
We've only
different.
missed the playoffs 3 times since 2009.
Very controversial with them. I feel
Like people just see us all the time. They don't know what to do.
Hey,
They're getting sick of you.
We're actually coming up on the NBA preseason.
already? Oh man.
Yeah, it
Just
starts
start,
on October 9th?
Yeah,
October
October 9th it starts, and then their first game of the regular season is against the Pistons, and it's in Miami. How do you feel about that?
I might have to go to the season opener.
I was gonna say, are you going?
Probably not. I have a really busy schedule this semester, but I want to definitely get down there and go to a game at some
A
point.
field trip. We can make it work. We'll make it
HGF
work.
field trip.
ACF field trip. Hey.
I think we should. So do you think they're gonna win this first game?
Oh, without a doubt.
It's the
Pistons?
Is Kate Cunningham
Please.
even back?
No, yeah, he's
Who?
back now.
Oh, he's
But
back.
I
Okay.
have him back. I think the Heat are just better. I mean, the Pistons are a lottery team. I mean, I just feel like the Heat are a lot better because the Pistons lack the lockdown defender that you need, and the Heat have really good defense, like Jimmy Butler.
Okay, so quickly before we go, you guys have like 10 seconds. Tell me why everybody needs to be a Heat fan right now.
If you want to see success and see winning, you'll be a Heat fan.
Consistency. That's what it's about. Anybody could win 1 year, but you stay consistent. It's always a good feeling.
Perfect. Well, that is all the time we have for this first segment. Thank you guys so much for watching, and then we'll be right back after this.
I'm Johnny Jackson. We've got Emily Aaron to my right and Maluka Costa to my left.
Hello and welcome to our segment of Hot Ones. I'm here with Noah Kemper and Grant
Wheeler.
Yep, I knew that. Grant Wheeler.
Listen, I'm a Bulls fan, but I just can't ever argue against LeBron. I watched him my whole life.
I've been going back and forth with this debate for a long time. It's got to be Michael Jordan.
Whatever she wanted. I would wake up in a maid costume for Doja Cat.
Brutal.
Jeffrey Laux, no question.
Richie, I would give it to Richie.
It is not Richie. It is not Richie.
No, it's Jeff.
Richie's pronouns are he, they, because he cannot be him.
What?
Oh, wait a second.
I'm gonna have to also agree and say Jeff. He always is spiffy.
It might be Cameron. Cameron's had some good fits.
Out of the women, Norelli always dresses really, really cute.
Oh, that went so awful.
It's basketball.
College football, I think, is the best sport to watch. If you don't like soccer, it's because you suck at it.
I think college football is the best.
Thanks for watching.
Welcome back. My name once again is Lexi Zolo, and I'm so glad you're here because this is one of my favorite segments because I love the topic that we are covering. And I am accompanied by Patrick Preverty and Brianna St. Jean, and we are going to be addressing social media and its impacts on athletes. Kiersten and Patrick will be giving us their thoughts on how it's good, and Bri and I will be informing you on how it is the opposite. So Bri, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I'm really excited to talk about this topic because it's really so important to talk about this.
Patrick, how are you doing?
I'm feeling great. When I heard that we had a show called Girl Talk, I was like, I have to be on it.
Yeah,
It slays,
yep.
so I'm going to come on.
We've had more guy guests than girls.
Listen, that's gonna change, I promise.
Hey, we're gonna get more girls on the show. All right, I want to roll right into it because I picked this topic and I was like, social media is so good. It's bringing us into the new age. In a world where everybody's always on their phones, sports needs social media. It brings more attention. It makes athletes more personable. It makes sports more fun. There, I said it. Sorry. So basically, a lot has happened in the past few years, talking about like COVID and stuff, and social media has really helped transform sports, and it brings it to kind of like a new level. So in 2019, when athletes weren't playing or performing, they were trying to find ways to help like keep the excitement around, because obviously when everybody is on a social calendar of like, okay, we're watching football, baseball, basketball, all of it, and then it's just not there. What do you do with your time? So athletes use social media to do things like raise money. For example, Jan Frodeno, that's how you say it, completed a triathlon in his own house. So he used like a little pool in his backyard. He was on a treadmill. He used like a bike roller, and then he did a triathlon and raised more than $23,000 for hospitals in the midst of COVID. So it's stuff like that that kind of just brings it to a whole new level. I mean, Patrick, what do you got?
Well, I completely agree. Obviously, I think it's very much a positive. I think you can see, look at this amazing little chart right here. Just brings out every good thing that social media brings. I mean, athletes can be an activist if they want to be. They can earn their own money properly through NIL deals and in college. And just overall, they can be like their own brand, and they can build themselves up. You know, the days of an athlete needing to like scrape by in college are pretty much gone now. If you're worth the money, you can earn the money. And we've seen a lot of athletes in the past, such as even like Reggie Bush or players like that, get in trouble for making their own money or signing autographs. Now, completely legal. And social media has only broadened that spectrum and their reach. So I think overall for athletes, you know, I know we're going to get to some of like the bad stuff that they obviously face. Overall, they're making money, and it can help. Money doesn't solve everything, but it's surely
one of the things that I think helps them a lot.
I also feel like it gives them like they're just like us mentality, where it's like when you see like an athlete like posting something on TikTok and you're like, okay, that's so weird. Why are you on the field 10 minutes ago and now you're making a TikTok in the locker room? And it's like, okay, that's kind of fun. So I just think it makes them have more of like
they're more personable.
Yes, like an approachable kind of feel.
Exactly.
So I know you guys are itching to tell me why we're wrong. So go ahead.
Well, I know that Kiersten, you told me, okay, pick, do you think it's good or bad? And honestly, like, I could have definitely gone both ways with this, but one of the first things I thought of was, I mean, all the hate they get on social media. I know a lot of athletes are now, like, fully backing off social media because of all the negative comments they get. I mean, imagine playing a sport and you didn't have your best game, and you know that, and then you hop on Twitter and you see all these tweets from all your fans like, oh my gosh, you suck, like what was that? And like it's very hurtful, and it really like messes with your like mental health and really unmotivates you. And I feel like that's why, so like that's the main thing with social media. I feel like it can be so negative. I mean, with everyone, not even just athletes. But then some other things, I remember the NBA bubble back in 2020 during the pandemic. I mean, Paul George, playoff P, actually now they were calling him Pandemic P because he was like, oh yeah, we're gonna kill it. And then the Clippers blew a 3-1 series against the Nuggets. And then he actually hit the side of the backboard. And that is when everyone started calling him Pandemic P. And then he was getting a ton of hate for it. I mean, and then they were stuck in that bubble for like a month. And they were talking about his wife, and because she was like a former stripper, and all of this hate he was getting, it was really messing with him. And he said that he got a lot of depression and anxiety after that. And I mean, that's just like really upsetting because, like, yes, he's a grown adult, but like everyone has feelings, you know?
No one should go through that, yeah.
Definitely. And then another thing that I wanted to touch on is gambling. I mean, when people gamble in sports, and they lose, they take it out on the team, you know, they're rooting for. Like, for example, Bradley Beal, he was under investigation after an altercation he had with a fan because after a game against, the Wizards, they lost against the Magic, and a fan bet $1,300 on it, and then they saw Bradley Beal walking by, and he was like, you know, what the F, and like was going off on him and like called him a few like slurs. And Beal was not having it, and he ended up like hitting his hat off the fan's head, and he ended up getting in trouble for that. But I mean, he just like lost his cool, and it's not his fault. He's like, I don't play this game for you guys to gamble. I do it for myself. And just because like you lose in betting doesn't mean like you should have to take hate from your fans like that, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree. Social media is just, there's so much good, but the bad, it overweighs tenfold. Because if you think about it, athletes will get thousands and thousands of good, positive comments and stuff, but those like 10, 20, 30 negative comments, that's what takes the toll and leaves a mark. Those comments and like hate and trolls, you could have one good play or one bad play in your career and it'll just get brought up because the internet, it doesn't die. So it'll just be brought up. There's no dates or anything. So that one bad play or one bad moment in your career, it'll hold over for the rest of your life.
And it's getting to the point where athletes are starting to like lash out and like say stuff back. Like I know Kevin Durant, he had a fake burner Twitter account, and then he ended up tweeting off his actual account. This was a few years ago. So that's how we found out that he made that burner account. But like now he just uses his real account and just like he'll say stuff right back to people, and I think that's like hilarious in a way. But what you were saying, like how the mean comments stick, like even like in real life, like
regular social media,
regular people and everything, like, you know, 100 people could tell you, oh, your hair looks great, you look beautiful, but then one person could be like, oh my God, you're ugly, and then you're like, oh my God, and then like that sticks. And that's probably the same with athletes when they're told, oh my God, this was a terrible game, you know.
I really think that like it also affects mental health in a crazy way too, because like I said, those trolls it'll really stick, and not only will it affect you like in the end of your career, it'll affect you forever. Those comments, they never leave. So, and another great example is kicker Brett Maher. He missed 4 extra points in one game, and it's the most missed in NFL history, and that's going to be held over for him the rest of his life. And even though he's a great kicker, like he's had a great career, but that is the one thing that people are going to think of him. So that's just one example.
Okay, well, you gave us a lot of points, not enough time to rebuttal them, but that means we're going to let you guys decide who do you side with, who do you back, social media, good or bad, yes or no. Stick around, we'll be back. Hello and welcome back to segment 3 of Girl Talk. My name is once again Kiersten Blaylock, and I'm glad you stuck around this long because I'm about to give you the top 5 things that happened in sports this week. Starting out at number 1, we have the news that you've definitely heard if you follow sports at all. The volleyball team from Nebraska has set a world record for women's sports attendance. The team went head-to-head against the Omaha Mavericks on Wednesday, August 30th, 2023, in the Lincoln Memorial Stadium, where the University of Nebraska hosts its football games. The stadium itself has set capacity at 83,406, meaning that there were more people in attendance at the volleyball match than there ever could be at a football game. Now, with a smaller court, there were seats on the turf as well as having stadium seats. So I'm not trying to discount football, but this is a huge deal. Now, speaking of the numbers, the new record now sits at 92,003. Let me say that one more time, just in case it didn't sink in. 92,003 people bought tickets to come watch Nebraska's volleyball team play in the football stadium. Before the Huskers broke the record, it went to the Champions League match against Barcelona and Wolfsburg with an attendance record of 91,648. They held this record for a year and a half before Huskers volleyball swooped in to take the crown. Now, breaking records is nothing new for this team, by the way, as they also hold the record for the NCAA women's sellout streak, with 306 regular season matches completely sold out. And as a show that tries to bring light to women's sports, this is so important for us to learn about, but also for all the little kids who dream of going pro or playing in college. Seeing news like this puts stars in the eyes of every young and upcoming volleyball player, and I honestly can't wait to see where we go from here. Next up on my list, the Atlantic Coast Conference has made some new additions to its roster to debut in the 2024 season. As the Pac-12 conference falls apart, each team has been scouting new places to fit in, and 3 teams have found their place within the ACC. Stanford, California, and SMU were all voted into the ACC on September 1st, 2023. Now, before I go on, anyone who might be confused, college football is broken into 3 different divisions, the top being Division I, which is what I'm talking about here. And then within Division I, there are different subcategories called conferences, which are broken up by area, past performance, size, stuff like that. There are currently 10 conferences, but one of them, Pac-12, is on the brink of collapse due to some legal stuff. So teams within the broken conference are trying to switch into a different one to get paid better and play more competitive football. Now, if you've ever wondered how teams switch into a new conference, then you're in luck because I'm here to tell you. There's a big vote done by all of the presidents of the schools that are already in the conference. Now, this is usually a unanimous vote, and it's kind of just a formality. However, sometimes, like this time, there were schools that dissented against adding the new teams. Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, and NC State all had their own reasons for being against this change. Now, the league has 15 teams, which means there needed to be at least 12 teams in agreement for the vote to pass. But with 4 teams against the new additions, the vote sat at 11-4 for a hot minute. NC State did end up switching their vote, and the ACC welcomed 3 new teams for its 2024 season. This brings their league from 15 to 18, 17 teams who play football full-time. Now, taking a small break from football, I want to talk about 2 of my favorite tennis players. Jessica Pegula and Madison Keys are 2 tennis players from the U.S. that I've followed loosely for the past year. And last week, they faced off at the U.S. Open. Pegula and Keys have had chances to play together over the summer, but for one reason or another, they just kept missing. Now, close your ears if you don't want to hear about how this match ends, because I'm going to spoil it. Jessica Pegula was a little bit off her fire, which gave Keys the upper hand to sweep the dub. Now, the 2 are close friends off the court, so even when they were opponents, there was a sort of respect that they had for each other, and it translated into the match. And then when Keys advances to the quarterfinals for the first time since 2018, it's somewhat of a victory for them both. Oh, coming up with another piece of interesting news, I'm going to give you a glance into the world of pickleball. Now, if you're like me, you didn't know that pickleball existed until like 2 months ago. I mean, it was something I knew was there, but no one played it. And all of a sudden, everyone and their mother play it once a week. But where did it all begin? Realistically, where most sports do, with 2 rich guys with nothing better to do. One hot summer afternoon in 1965, a congressman and a businessman wanted to play badminton after a round of golf, but they couldn't find a full set of paddles, so they improvised with a ping pong paddle set and a plastic ball. Now, flash forward to 2023, and the game has grown so much, so fast. More than 36.5 million people play pickleball, and those who play professionally have the opportunity to play in 2 leagues, the Professional Pickleball Association, founded by Connor Pardoe, and the Major League of Pickleball, founded by Stephen Kuhn. Now, when I say have the opportunity, I mean had the opportunity, because there's been some sketchy stuff that's going on behind the scenes of the business of pickleball. Stephen Kuhn has broken his agreement with Pardoe and has been secretly offering million-dollar contracts to have players agree to only play in the MLP. Now, when Pardoe found out, he felt like he was scrambling as he was trying to save his company, because now he's missing out on so many of these players that are only playing in 1 league. But on the upside of this, pickleball players are finding financial stability in something that started out as just a hobby. Contracts offered by the MLP have opened doors for pickleball players, and it's given them the chance to do what they love and make money doing it. So there is a silver lining in that. Finally, to round out the week, our UCF Knights dominated last week in their first Big 12 game. The Knights faced off against Kent State on August 31st, and the game was an easy victory for Orlando's hometown team. John Rice Plumlee was easily the MVP of the game, throwing for 281 yards and rushing for 90 of them, leading the Knights to 4 total touchdowns and ultimately the victory. The odds were in favor of the Knights, though, as Kent State has no returning starters on their offensive line, and only 4 returning starters in total. There was also, I was at the game, there was this crazy interception, and the crowd went wild. The energy was so good, and I think home games need to continue to show out like this because it just brings such a huge difference to the team. Now, obviously, this was a confidence booster for them, and I do think it's one that the Knights can enjoy, but I'm a little worried for our team. Where do we draw the line between confident and cocky? With such an easy win, one could make the argument that UCF still has much to prove in the Big 12, and that there's still room for improvement. That being said, I am so excited for this season, and even though no one's asked me, I'm hoping for at least an 8-4 record. Now, that is all the time we have for this week. But hey, thank you guys so much for watching. It means the world to me. On behalf of Doug and Phil, and I guess the Miami Heat, and as well as Patrick and Brianna, and of course, on behalf of Lexi and myself, we wish you all a wonderful weekend and come back next Saturday at noon for some more Girl Talk. Bye!
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back, okay? Always locked in, I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.